Looks like I'm live, everybody. How we all doing? I'm gonna give a chance for some people to join here. And before I do that, I'm just gonna chat about what we're gonna do today. First off, this is my first time going live. This is my first time going solo, and this is my first time working YouTube. So, to the 8 people that are here with me right now, please bear with me. Um, I This is my first time actually using YouTube. So we'll see what happens. But in any case, I mean the format is going to be very similar to that of Wonder Goal. We're going to talk about all 10 Premier League matches. I'm going to go through the rest of Europe just like we would in Wonder Goal, except I'm going to be a little bit more detailed rather than just breezing through like we did on Wonder Goal through a first few minutes. Another thing, I want to make this as interactive as possible. So, for those here, hang on, I'm going to talk while I'm trying to tweet out the link that I actually am live. So I want to make this as interactive as possible. So what I'm going to do is obviously I'm going to talk about all 10 matches. When I'm done talking about a match, I'm going to look at the chat. So if you have a question or a comment, I will look at the chat and I'll read it off. For those who know me, I love a good bit of banter. I love talking crap. So if you want to tell me that my face looks fat, that Arsenal sucks, please do that. I'm always happy to banter back and forth with people. And yeah, we're just gonna have some fun. We got a nice weekend slate here ahead of us. So hang on, I'm just gonna tweet out this link, and then I'm trying to do like 7 things at once. And yeah, again, this is my first time using YouTube Live. So, again, I got no idea how this is going to go. So yeah, 1 second. Sorry. I'm just going to quote tweet it because I'm trying to. All right. Okay, let's get started here. We got 11 people in here. That's not bad. Okay. Hey man, I said I'd broadcast to 4 people. Okay, so let's get started. Yeah, let's start with Arsenal and Chelsea. Not the best week for Arsenal, if we're being honest here. Lose to Newcastle on the road, lose to Inter on the road, lose, more importantly, Edu, their club director, in the middle of the week. So kind of a tumultuous week for Arsenal. And I think this matchup is kind of fascinating. I don't really have any value on it per se from a projection standpoint. And I think that if you're going to play something in this match, I think we're going to start off with bang. I think the 0-0 at 12-1 is live. And the reason that I say that is because Arsenal's biggest problem right now is central progression. It's really clear that they just completely miss Odegaard. Like that is, without a doubt, there's a clear hole in the middle. And so what Arsenal's trying to do, and you watched it against Inter, is they kept trying to create these 4v3 overloads out wide. But since Inter was playing in their 5-3-2, they were very easily not allowing Arsenal to do that. And also, I read a great thread from EBL that essentially Arsenal the last few matches has tried to be more fluid with their build-up structures, like changing them, not just saying like completely structured to the same system. And while that's good and it keeps teams guessing, what it also does is when you get out of your structured system and you have this fluidity to it, you have to think about and you have to scan the field and find where your teammates actually are. In a structured system, you don't have to think. You can just pass it to, where your teammates are and you can just pass it. So with a fluid system like this, it's kind of struggling for Arsenal. Now, they're going to face Chelsea's 4-2-4 mid-block. They just faced that against Liverpool. And I thought Arsenal did a pretty decent job of exposing some of the flaws of the 4-2-4 that, basically like every team is playing. And what they did is they basically just brought Havertz in as like basically a right mid. and just force McAllister to actually come out and get him. And what that also did is it got Robertson in 1v1s with Saka. Now, if you watch Arsenal at all, Saka rarely ever gets in 1v1s. Arsenal just completely moves like heaven and earth just like for a minute of him getting in 1v1 because he can kill anybody. And then you saw that against Liverpool. That's how they scored their opening goal. So the other aspect here for Chelsea is, again, another good thread I read from John McKenzie, who's a good friend. Basically, Chelsea is inverting Gusto into playing as like a number 10 alongside Cole Palmer because Caicedo and Lavia are more of a defensive double pivot, and he doesn't want, and if he plays Enzo Fernandez, he's got to play him in a more advancing role. And I don't know if they're actually going to do that against Arsenal. But if they do that, well, that leaves them pretty exposed in wide areas, and that's obviously where Arsenal can hurt you. As far as Odegaard is concerned, he did come on for like the last 5 minutes against Inter. I would be shocked if he starts and plays a full 90 minutes here. They're clearly going to try to nurse him back from this injury. And so that means that Arsenal, unless they start Nwaneri, which I think they probably should, they have no central progression. So that means they're going to have to dominate in wide areas. And the problem is Arsenal's really only guy who can like consistently beat guys 1v1 is Saka, and nobody ever lets him get into 1v1. So I think it's going to be kind of a little bit of a struggle. And Chelsea's defensive metrics have actually been very, very good this season. The flip side of it, though, is that if Arsenal just goes on the road and they come with the same game plan that they went with against, let's say, Tottenham, for example, I think they're going to completely shut Chelsea down because I'm going to still say it. And I know a lot of tactical people are going to come in and say, Enzo Maresca's central midfield overload and how great it is and everything. Chelsea at its core is better as a transition team. They're really, really good in transition. The players that they have, if they wanted to play very direct counterattacking style, they would be so freaking good. But they keep trying to be this build-up team. And, well, that's fine getting through the first two phases. If they play a team that can actually sit in a really good compact defensive block, which Arsenal obviously can, they're one of the best teams in the world at doing that, Chelsea doesn't really have a lot of imagination or various ways to break down low blocks. And that's a problem that goes all the way back to last season under Pochettino. And the core of the problem is that if you're not able to get that central overload or you're not able to play through the middle, well, then you're going to be stuck getting the ball out wide and sending in crosses, and Chelsea doesn't have aerial threats. So, especially against Arsenal, who's a very good team at defending those type of crosses. So, for me, this is a pass. If anything, the 0-0 is 12-1. I think that 0-0 is maybe a little bit live here. But yeah, I wouldn't be so concerned about Arsenal. I think once Odegaard gets back, they'll get back into the form of things. As far as, I'll talk futures at the end of this episode or this live stream, excuse me. So yeah, we'll see what happens in this match. I think it's a fascinating match to see where Chelsea is at, facing, an extremely elite team that can play that really compact defensive block. But I have a hard time seeing how Chelsea's going to get over one expected goal here. So that's Arsenal and Chelsea. Yeah, Arsenal matches without goals. So we want to talk West Ham Everton next? I think we should. Yeah, I think we should. All right, let's talk West Ham and Everton. I've been kind of going back. I was kind of going back and forth on this match. Like, I don't, if for those who don't know, I think I included in the description of this live stream. I have a Google Doc that houses all my projections and all my picks and everything like that. One thing I forgot to mention: if you want the picks early, the live stream is where to get them. I will post them later in the day, but if you want to get them now, I will give them out here. So, obviously I'm trying to grow the YouTube and obviously hopefully do some stuff of my own here, which I'll talk about later in the live stream as well. So if you want the picks early, you can get them here, but I will post them in the Google Doc later. So West Ham's defense is really bad, and I don't think it's getting any better anytime soon. And it's kind of just goes back to the core of what I was talking about a lot of times on Wonder Goal, is that They don't have any real ball winning in the middle of the field. And even if they decide to play more of a high block and they decide to, you know, try to press teams, which they've been completely ineffective at doing, that leaves them incredibly exposed to teams who can hit you in transition, which Everton is one of those teams. West Ham is allowing 1.74 expected goals per 90 minutes. That's bad. That's not good. But what's even worse is that Opta has a great stat called fast break shots, which essentially it is what it sounds. West Ham's allowed 18 of them this season. That's 6 more than the next closest team. That's how bad they've been in terms of actually stopping teams in transition. They've allowed the 4th most final entries, 6th most box entries. It's just not a good defensive team, no matter what structure they have, because just the team is not set up to play a low block because, again, they don't have a lot of ball winning in the midfield, and some of their attackers are, for being honest, kind of passengers out of possession. And if they want to play a high blocking press, they're going to get beat in transition. So that is exactly the way that Everton can beat you. I mean, Everton was very good against Southampton. Very, very good. The way they were creating chances, I thought was really encouraging. You know, they forced a lot of high turnovers and got those quick transition opportunities. They were hitting Southampton over and over again in transition. And I really think that that's how they can get to West Ham here. Now, the flip side of it is I'm a little concerned for Everton's defense here, which has not been Everton-like, let's just say it. Let's call it that. Although they are, like I said, they are creating a lot of chances off of those high turnovers. The biggest problem with them is they can't defend crosses. They've allowed the most crosses into their penalty area of anybody in the Premier League so far. So West Ham, although they're trying to be a team that builds out of the back, a team that can get through some type of central progression, what really ends up happening is Paqueta typically will drop deep, and he wants to get that ball out wide. And West Ham likes to send in a lot of crosses. They have completed the 7th most. They've attempted the 4th most. And they have the 4th best cross completion percentage into the penalty area. So it's a really good positive thing that West Ham can have here against Everton. And that leads me to my bet of both teams to score at minus 130, which is available at Caesars right now. The rest of the market is sitting at about minus 140-ish. So I would grab that minus 130. I projected this line at minus 167, I believe, both teams to score. The last meeting between these two teams towards the end of last season, West Ham won 3-1 with 2 stoppage time goals, and there was 4.6 expected goals. Everton actually almost created 3 expected goals. It was like a typical Everton performance, just like you saw against Southampton. 2 expected goals, can't score. But guess what? Southampton scores off a cutback cross. So it just is what it is. So both teams to score minus 130 in West Ham and Everton. If you wanted to play, if you're looking for kind of a little bit of a long shot, I think Everton money line is definitely live here. I would not pay whatever the minus 135, minus 140-ish. It's round of what it is for them plus a half. So yeah, that is Everton and West Ham. Let's go to this is a fascinating one. Brentford and Bournemouth. I forgot. I probably should read off the odds to these matches like we did on Wonder Goal to help you guys out. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Hang on. Let me just pull up the odds really quick while I'm talking here. But yeah, 2 of our favorite teams. If you listen to Wonder Goal, these 2, Brentford we've loved for a long time. Bournemouth is just a recent love since Iraola came on. Brentford the price has come down a little bit. They did open at plus 135. Now they're down to plus 150. Bournemouth is plus 170, and the draw is at plus 250. I think the way to play this, like I'm pretty close in terms of my projection on here. Like I had it around where it was opening. I think you can go to the shot market and you can take Bournemouth over 14.5 shots at minus 110, which is available at Bet365 right now. I projected Bournemouth for 17.2 shots in this match. And really what it comes down to is this season, Brentford is allowing a ton of shots. And it kind of goes back to a couple of different things. So first off, it's kind of the same story we've been talking about with Brentford. They're trying to be a team that baits the press, trying to be a team that builds out of the back a little bit more, and they just turn it over way too often in their own final third. This is the worst team to do that against because Bournemouth is the best pressing team in the Premier League right now. They put on a masterclass of pressing against Manchester City and creating those easy transition opportunities. And man, they were so freaking good against them. But the other thing about Brentford is that when they get into those positive game states, like you saw against Fulham, they will sit back and they will sit back and they will basically just let you have a lot of low quality chances. And for Bournemouth, they've kind of settled for some of those right now. Bournemouth is averaging the fourth most shots so far in the Premier League this season. Brentford is allowing 18.8 shots per 90. That is the most. And in only 2 matches have they held an opponent under 14 shots, or excuse me, under 15 shots. It came against first match of the season against Crystal Palace, and then against Ipswich, who was playing down a man for most of the second half. So I like Bournemouth over 14.5 shots here, minus 110. Even if Bournemouth goes ahead here, we've seen them play. They're not a team just going to sit back and just let you have all sorts of chances. So they will keep coming. They will keep going. So Bournemouth over 14.5 shots in that match. Let's move on to Crystal Palace and Fulham. When I was going through this, I mean, Fulham's really good. Let's give Marco Silva his flowers. Fulham is really good at creating chances against Brentford on Monday. For those of you who had the over 3 with me, that was a miracle push. I mean, just a complete miracle. So I probably will get one of those against me coming up here soon. But in any case, the problem here with Crystal Palace is the injuries. Although I would love to sit here and try and make a case that we can buy low on Crystal Palace, because I do think they are a very good defensive team. And I think in this type of matchup, specifically against Fulham, Fulham loves to get 3v2s and 2v1s out wide, and they basically just create chances up crosses. That's nothing new under Marco Silva. That's been happening for a really, really long time, but they've put a good emphasis on it this season. They've been doing a really good job of it. The problem is, in this type of matchup, Crystal Palace is allowing the lowest cross completion rate, and also allowing the second fewest crosses into their penalty area. But, and then you go to the Palace injury report. Excuse me. Adam Wharton's injured. Eze's injured. Will Hughes is suspended. Lerma's injured. And Chris Richards is injured. So you can't. I can't stomach a bet here on Crystal Palace, even if I am showing a little bit of value on them. So for me, this is a pretty easy pass. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, my mic. I don't know what's going on with my mic here. Okay, I got to get this whole setup thing figured out. All right. I will add the edge screen for the Europa League at some point. Yes. But yeah. Europa League picks are on my Twitter right now. They're in the doc. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. Yep. Bournemouth over 14.5 shots, minus 110, available at Bet365 right now. And by the way, all the odds that are on my edge screen, excuse me, my throat is clogged. All the odds that are on my edge screen and all the odds I'm going to read off today are from Bet365. They're not sponsoring this one. No, it's minus 105 on FanDuel. Perfect. It's just Bet365. And maybe I'll do a Q&A at the end. We can talk, overall, like what books are best to bet at and strategies of betting on soccer. But in general, Bet365 is the best place to actually bet and gives the fairest odds, in my opinion. There's some certain aspects and bets that are better at different books, but in general, Bet365 is probably going to give you the best odds. I'd say probably like 60% of the time. Okay, let's move on to last 10 a.m. Eastern time match. Wolves, Southampton. Relegation 6-pointer. Important match. I've actually been pretty encouraged by Southampton. I know they got dominated by Everton, but they have shown that not only can their build-up sometimes actually work against teams like Wolves, for example, but they've also shown over these recent weeks that they can play in transition. They can play direct. I mean, their best chance against Everton came off a really quick direct opportunity. So um, I think that's pretty encouraging for their prospects of actually surviving and not getting relegated. I know on the surface level, everybody, they got their first win, so that's good. I think everybody thinks they're the worst team. They're not the worst team. Ipswich is by far the worst team. So we'll get to them later in this show. But yeah, for Wolves, they're not a good pressing team under Gary O'Neill. They never have been. They're a solid defensive block team, and they haven't really been doing that this season. So, Wolves is sitting at minus 106. I projected them at plus 110. I got the total pretty close to where it is as well. This is just a pretty easy pass for me. One thing I will say, and before I got laid off at the Action Network, I did track this maybe the day before I got laid off. But the odds to not be relegated, Wolves is sitting at minus 200 right now. Again, the schedule's opening up for them. Here, I'll read it off for you again. I know I've done it a couple times, but they had the hardest schedule of anybody to begin the season. I know Arsenal fans have been complaining about how hard their schedule has been. It was not even close to what Wolves was experiencing. Coming up here, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester, and then Manchester United on Boxing Day. That's a really favorable schedule. And I think what you're going to see is I do trust Gary O'Neill as a tactical manager, although the metrics, they're going to get better at some point. I mean, 27 goals allowed off of 19 expected. You're going to see some positive regression. They've been the most unfortunate team defensively so far this season. Now, allowing 1.75 non-penalty expected goals is not good, and they got to improve on that. But again, they've been playing some of the best teams in the Premier League here. So I think this is more of a really interesting match to sit back and really evaluate where Wolves is, because they were not that good against Crystal Palace. They were not good at really breaking them down. They got a couple decent chances, but Palace was constantly threatening them. I mean, Palace created over 2 expected goals against them. That's concerning if you're supposed to be this low block type defending team. So, and Palace was hitting him in transition over and over again too. That's also concerning. So for me, this match is a pass. I think this is a good match to sit back and just evaluate where Wolves is as a team right now. Wolves money line, back up the Brinks truck. I think there's a couple different Brinks truck opportunities. Maybe not Wolves. Seems too good to be true. I mean, listen. They haven't. The only match they've won is against Burnley in the EFL Cup. So who knows? Maybe this will be their first win. But yeah, this is a match they got to have if they want to survive. So, I would rather, play them to stay up at minus 200 in the futures market. And I'll talk a little about futures and what I'm going to be doing with those at the end of the episode. All right. Let's move on. Fabian Herzler's Brighton. This is a 12:30 p.m. Eastern time match against the worst team in the Premier League, Manchester City. Losers of 3 straight matches. Brighton's plus 310. City's minus 134. Draws plus 320. Total is set about at 3. I've already tweeted it out. I like Brighton here. I don't really project much in terms of value on it, but I thought Brighton's tactical display against Liverpool was incredible, even though they lost 2-1. The thing is, for what Brighton was able to do is they were able to exploit and get numerical advantages through the first phase against Liverpool and then exploit those wide areas where Liverpool is a little bit vulnerable right now. They were constantly bringing the goalkeeper out, getting into a 4-2 build-up shape, getting a 5-3 through the first 3 phases. And then what it caused to do is Liverpool to kind of switch their structure throughout the match. But what it did is that once Brighton was able to beat that first line of pressure, they were going quickly. And it was kind of almost like, dare I say, a little De Zerbi-esque, kind of going back to the De Zerbi days of like when De Zerbi's Brighton was like at their peak, when they were able to get that initial find the free man and then just blitz you, turning a build-up situation into a transition situation. So I think that Brighton can do the exact same thing here against Manchester City, because City is getting exploited in transition over and over and over again. And I can't remember who said it, and I would love to give them credit for it. Basically, they said Pep cannot tactic his way out of his midfield just flat out being slow. Like he played a 4-1-4-1 against Sporting, played Kovacic as the single pivot midfielder. He's just slow. He's not able to cover a lot of ground, and that's why Sporting scored their second goal, because basically he couldn't cover a lot of ground. And the initial of how they actually got to that point of is how Sporting scored that was very similar to how Brighton was creating a lot of chances against Liverpool, which is getting the ball out wide, forcing the right back to step up and having the guy make the run on the vacated space through City's back line, all out of whack, and they were able to get in and score. Now, City's dealing with injuries, obviously. You know, the loss of Rodri has clearly been please publicly state that you're fine with Pavetta QO. I don't know what Pavetta QO is. But now that City obviously doesn't have Rodri, looks like John Stones is not going to play. It looks like Ruben Dias is not going to play. And a Nathan Ake, Akanji center back pairing just isn't that good comparatively to what City wants to do. And City is getting beat with pace over and over again. And Brighton's got a ton of pace that they can get in behind. And this is also just a brutal run for City. This is their 4th straight road match in 10 days. This is their 7th match overall in the last 3 weeks, and Brighton's had a whole week to prepare for this. And from what Fabian Herzler has showed us as a tactical manager so far is that he's really, really good when he has time to prepare. He really, truly learned from some of the stuff that Liverpool did to him in the EFL Cup and put that in on the weekend. I know they lost, but the tactical display was really, really good, especially on the road. So Brighton plus a half, plus 110, I think is a decent price right here. Just listen, the last time that City lost 3 straight matches was 2018. I don't know the last time they lost 4 straight matches, but I think this is about as good of opportunity of any to actually hit them. So, yeah, Pavetta. I think you're in the wrong. Oh, he's got the Red Sox. Did Pavetta get a qualifying offer? Okay, I'll have to go look at it. My initial reaction is Nick Pavetta's got great stuff plus. Okay, so I want him. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to do MLB live streams. Go follow Sean Zerillo. So yeah, Brighton plus a half. Again, I'm pretty close to my projection, but I think that the tactical matchup here with how bad City has been defending in transition really lends itself to guys like Matoma, Minta, whoever Brighton decides to play as wingers, Ruder, guys who actually can carry the ball with a lot of pace, is going to give City a lot of problems. All right, let's move on to we got a 3 p.m. Eastern time match on Saturday. And it's a great one. Liverpool, Aston Villa. Liverpool's minus 225. Aston Villa plus 525. Draw is at 4-1. Total has gone up. Hello. That's what I was looking for. Yep. So you can get under 3 at about plus 115, or it looks like under 3.5 is minus 135, minus 140-ish range in that aspect. I now like the under. I've been looking at this total for a while. And of course, Liverpool puts up 4 expected goals against Leverkusen. And now suddenly we're going to start steaming some Liverpool totals. So here's the thing with Liverpool. Their press isn't good, but it doesn't matter. And the reason that it doesn't matter is because Liverpool is so good at tracking back defensively. even if the initial press gets broken, they have elite defenders like Konate and Van Dijk, and it makes it really, really difficult for teams to actually hit them. And we know that Aston Villa, if we're just being flat honest, their buildup is slow. And I'm sure that Unai Emery is going to try a lot of the same things that Brighton did. 4-2 base, try to get a 5v3, try to beat the first line of pressure. And I think Aston Villa is actually going to have some problems in actually trying to exploit that. Again, we have had one Liverpool match in the Premier League has seen 4 goals. One. It was against Arsenal. And guess what? There wasn't even 2 expected goals created in that match. Overall, between the two teams. Even against Brighton, only 2.6 expected goals created. Even in the 2-1 win against Chelsea, under 3 expected goals. I'm telling you, Slot has completely changed what Liverpool is trying to do and changed it and has helped us as people that are betting in the markets, and the markets just keep steaming them up. And yes, I know they created 4 expected goals with Leverkusen. Did you watch the first half? It was incredibly boring. They didn't do anything. So, yeah, first live stream, I was wondering how mean the chat was going to be here, which is fine. I can take it, but I did not expect some Pavetta discourse in the chat. Yeah, Villa was not very good against Bruges. Hilarious handball though. That was pretty funny. But yeah, undeserving. But yeah, the thing with Villa and maybe why they struggle sometimes is they try to get central progression, or if they're able to get the ball into wide areas. But let's just be honest, when Duran and Ollie Watkins can make runs in behind, that's truly where they're at their best. And I don't think they're going to be able to get that against Liverpool here. So under 3 plus 115, projected 2.9 goals for this match. Again, going last night when I was up late preparing for all this, the total was just sitting about 3, like plus 105-ish in that range. Now we're up plus 115. That gets me into the green in terms of expected value. So Liverpool, Aston Villa under 3 plus 115. The other aspect of like Aston Villa, and especially, which is kind of frustrating when I've been trying to fade them for a long time, is that Emi Martinez is just like consistently one of the biggest overperformers of post-shot XG plus minus. Like he just is always in the green because he's just a really good shot stopper. So in that aspect, that's always positive when you're betting the under. But the other thing with Liverpool is, they've obviously liked to play pretty direct, and they can get into 1v1s across the back line. Aston Villa is obviously going to play their high line. But I think what you'll see is Liverpool will value more control as playing like extremely direct for most of the match. So yeah, under 3 plus 115 in Liverpool and Aston Villa. So that's Saturday. If it was funny, if we're just being honest here, Champions League fixture congestion catching up. That's true. Although Villa they prepared for this. This is why they brought in a ton of guys. I think that, I don't know if you'll see some squad rotation here, obviously with an international break on the horizon, but yeah, it is catching up to them. And at some point, again, Liverpool changed their defensive structure against Brighton because they knew their 4-2-4 was getting exploited too much. So I don't know if you're going to see them in a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, but in any case, even though their press sucks, like it really does suck, and Brighton really exploited them many times, they're still incredibly good at tracking back and defending in transition. So it doesn't matter, So yeah. Yeah, Villa might need to remember the handball rule. Bit of a refresher. Yeah, that would be good if they knew the rules. That would help the under. That's true. It's a good point, Brian. All right, let's move on to Sunday. Sunday. Let's start Manchester United against Leicester. I think the line's right here. I really have nothing for this match. I read a lot of Manchester United tactical people because it's the biggest club in the world and they have so many fans. Darnish is a great follow if you want to follow some Manchester United tactics. Nothing's changed, dare I say. Like, nothing has really changed with United. Ten Hag leaves, and suddenly everybody thinks like, I thought Ruud van Nistelrooy was going to be the manager in charge for the rest of the season, and they would evaluate at the end. Amorim's coming in. I'll talk more Amorim. I have a ton of thoughts on him, but it seems silly to just waste them right now when he's not even going to be a charge for this match. But the same things are still kind of applying for United, is that we know their press isn't that good. They can be exploited, but I'm not sure like Leicester is really the team that's able to exploit them. But again, Michael used to say this all the time on Wonder Goal. I would love to meet the person that is just happy to just lay -1.5 with United right now. I know Leicester sucks. I know they do. The two matches where there have been 3 matches where they've created over 1 expected goal. 2 of them came when they were playing up a man for most of the match. Other than that, they've done nothing. They also just played United. Also, it was a 5-2 thrashing. We have to remember that. I can't remember what the XG was for that. I'll keep talking and I'll look it up right now. But in any case, I don't think I can do it here. If you're a United fan, you want to lay it, go ahead and lay it. But horrible displays against West Ham. The Chelsea match wasn't really that good, if we're being honest, either. Fenerbahce, it wasn't good at all. It's just the same story over and over again. And yeah, of course, United's going to be able to try to build up here, and Leicester has not been a good team defensively. So United very well may win this match, but from a projection standpoint, I'm at United -220, and their spread of -1.34, which puts me basically right in line with where the market is on United. And listen, I've been very fair to United in terms of projecting them, okay? I could have just taken their data from last season and just said, hey, they suck. They're like a bottom-level team. But no, I made significant adjustments for new guys coming in and just some general positive regression for teams that have a lot of talent. So I've been very fair to United. But I just can't. I'm not laying -1.5 here. You could maybe look at the total. What's over 3? No, just kidding. I mean, if you want to play this, no. None of this. All right. Nothing in United and Leicester for me. I said I was going to look up United's. All right, let's go. Where's fixtures? It's not going to do it for me. All right, give me 1 second here. I'll move on in just a second. Does anybody have a question while I'm looking this up? Okay. Leicester United. I mean, yeah, it was a good performance from United. 3 expected goals off 5 scored. Still conceded 16 shots against Leicester in that FA Cup match. Casemiro might be back too. Looks pretty good, honestly. The problem with if you play a Casemiro Ugarte midfield, though, is neither of them are really good in build-up. Although in this match, it might not matter because Leicester's probably just going to sit back. So, yeah, nothing in United. Now let's move on to Nottingham Forest and Newcastle. I love Nottingham Forest here. This is the point I want to hammer home. If you take anything away from this live stream, this is the point. This is what I want you to remember. What Nottingham Forest is doing this season is why expected metrics matter when we're betting. We've been saying this on Wonder Goal. We're just betting Nottingham Forest every single match because the market has not caught up to how good this team truly actually is. We said it coming into the season. From the point that Nuno took over in December 20th, Nottingham Forest had the 4th best expected goal differential in the Premier League. They were so good. They were so good defensively. And so we come into the season and now they have this meteoric rise, which is not by chance, which is not by fluke. And people are saying, wow, Nottingham Forest, look how, like, is it sustainable? Look, is them sitting in the top 4 sustainable? No. But is them sitting as like the 7th or 8th best team in the Premier League? Yes, that is sustainable. So it's a perfect, clear example of, hey, this team's expected metrics are good, but maybe they haven't gotten the actual results they deserve. This is why we continue to keep betting on them. And I'll be honest with you, right? Sitting right now, is there anybody in the chat that really thinks Newcastle's been better than Nottingham Forest this season? Because I don't. And this is Newcastle away. They've been really, really good at home. They just beat Arsenal at home, right? Although they kind of got outplayed after they got the first goal. They've been terrible away from St. James Park forever under Eddie Howe. And there is a match that I want to go to, and I'm going to pull it up right now for Newcastle because this is very important. Newcastle is a team that's trying to build out of the back more. They're trying to be able to control matches more. At their core, Newcastle is at their best when they are pressing high, when they are playing in transition, and they're really good on set pieces. Nottingham Forest is not going to allow any of those three things to happen. They're the second best defensive team in the Premier League right now in terms of non-penalty expected goals. They're incredible at defending set pieces, and they just don't let you get out in transition. So Newcastle, who, listen, I came in very high on the season. I have a pretty big position on them to finish inside the top 6, which is not looking great right now. The match I want to point to is a match against Wolves. So what happened in this match is essentially Wolves scored in the 36th minute, and they just decided to kind of sit in. And Newcastle, in the end, they ended up creating 1.5 expected goals. But if you watch most of the match, it was a lot of low-quality chances and a lot of shots just from outside the box. In fact, both the goals one came off a deflection from Fabian Schär, and then Harvey Barnes scored one from outside the box as well. So, and then, you say they have 1.5 expected goals. After they went up 2-0, they created 2 big scoring chances. So whether this is a 0-0 game state or if Nottingham Forest gets a lead, I have major question marks of how actually Newcastle is going to break them down. And I understand why Eddie Howe is trying to turn them into a team that can control matches more, because it raises the ceiling of what you can be as a team, right? If you're just a team that plays in transition, relies on physicality and high pressing, yes, you can surge and you can have these meteoric rises, but you're also lowering the floor of what your team can be. And you saw that with Newcastle last season. Fixtures got piled up. They tried to switch to more of a 4-5-1 mid block and play more passively, and they just weren't as good. So we'll see. But yeah, I love Nottingham Forest here. Draw no bets. I probably should read off the odds to begin with. Why? Nottingham Forest is sitting at plus 175. Newcastle's plus 160. Draw plus 230. In what world should Nottingham Forest right now be an underdog? There's no world that they should be an underdog against Newcastle. So if you want your biggest bet of the weekend, it has to be Nottingham Forest draw no bet, which is plus 101 at Bet365 right now. I haven't looked at all the other books, but generally Bet365 does give you the best draw no bet odds. So yeah, Nottingham Forest. If you want to hammer something, it's Nottingham Forest. Will Leicester go back down? Well, they're not getting a points deduction like we all thought. That's cool. I'm really glad I put a bunch of money on them to finish bottom at Christmas, and they're not going to. Are they going back down? Probably. I still think the three newly promoted teams are all going back down. All right, let's move on. Tottenham Ipswich. Market has priced me out of here of what I want to do, which is just hammer everything Tottenham. Forest draw no bet under 3.5 is plus 110. That's not bad. I don't hate that. I generally don't. I mean, this is just like a personal thing. I know a lot of people like to play correlated things, whether it be like, for example, if you wanted to play like Nottingham Forest plus 0.5 at under 3.5 or whatever it is, things like that. I am predicting low value on the over. Also, hang on. What does he just score? Our boy, Chris Wood's been incredible. I love Chris Wood so much. Chris Wood. Oh, he's plus 210 to score. All right, throw Chris Wood. Throw a half unit on Chris Wood to score at plus 210. He had a hat trick against Newcastle last year, and he's just so freaking good at finding his positioning in the box and finding getting on the end of those crosses. And he's just a really good striker right now. I said it before on Wonder Goal. Like, I know he's 32. I know he's been around forever. He's just a good striker. Like, he's got a really good XG per 90. Like, he's finishing at an incredibly high rate right now. Like, he's just a good striker. And I think we all just need to admit that. Okay. Let's move on. Tottenham versus Ipswich. Again, the market has priced me out of here at what I want to do, which is to bet Tottenham correlated things. And I think if you wanted to play certain, whether it be a same game parlay or it be alternate spreads on Tottenham, I think those are live because Ipswich has got some defensive injuries right now. So they bought Jacob Greaves from Hull City in the transfer window to be their main cornerstone center back. He's out. Twansby is also out. So there goes two of your best center backs. Calvin Phillips is out for this match. Jack Taylor is injured. Ogbonna is injured. Like it's kind of bleak here for Ipswich. And here, I'm gonna pull up my statistical matrix really quick on Ipswich Town because it's not good. And it's kind of just the core problem that I keep talking about is like they're trying to play this like 4-2-4 mid block, or even if they're playing in some type of low defensive block, they're still horrible defensively. Spurs team total over 3.5 plus 190. I was looking at Spurs over 2.5, but it was like minus 140. And this is where I'm kind of getting to the point of like the market has kind of priced me out of here. So yeah, Ipswich is just, they're allowing a ton of shots. They have conceded the most big scoring chances. They've conceded, I believe, still the most expected goals. It's just a really bad team that now is dealing with some injuries. And if you've watched any team that has overwhelmed them, if you have watched any team that can, get either central overloads or 5 or 6 guys off the back line, they just struggle. They can't cope with it for a full match. So again, I wanted like over 3. I wanted over 3.5 at, let's just say like plus 105 or better. I don't think that's going to happen because of the injuries. But yeah, man, I really wanted to take Tottenham here. Tottenham does play Galatasaray on Thursday. That's kind of also why I'm just kind of avoiding this. I don't know what kind of lineup they're going to play. That is an important match for them in the Europa League. I don't know if they're going to play a lot of the starters. They've been kind of rotating in the Europa League against some of the worst teams. Which is because they know they're going to finish in the top 24, even if they have to play an extra match. So for me, yeah, man, I really would. If you wanted to play some like crazy same game parlay with like a Tottenham alt spread, with like Tottenham over shots and other things of that nature, that might be the way to go here. You could also maybe wait live, like if Tottenham starts out slow in like the first 30 minutes and they're just like blitzing them. Although I will say this, if you're live betting, it's kind of hard to get better odds. Like I've heard people tell me like, oh, I'll wait through the first like 20 minutes because these teams start out slow. The odds generally don't get like significantly better through the first 20 minutes, especially if a team is dominating. Actually, more often than not, they get worse. So yeah, I'm going to pass here. Probably the most like gut punching pass I've had in a long time, just because I'm like, I know that Tottenham is going to score like 4 goals here. I know they're going to do it, but I just don't think I can do it. All right. So I believe that's all 10 Premier League matches, right? Before I move on, does anybody have any questions? I'll give everybody a chance here if they want to ask some questions before we move on to the rest of Europe. And then after the rest of Europe, we'll talk a little bit about what I'm going to do now that I'm unemployed. All right. pull things up here. Pull up my projections. Talk about Amorium. I will. You'll have to tune into another YouTube. Sorry. All right, let's move on to rest of Europe. So what I'm going to do here, typically on Wonder Goal, I would just like breeze through 3 picks because all everybody cares about is the Premier League. But I'm going to try to go into a little bit more detail with these. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to hang on. Maybe I'll just put my mic like right here or off to the side. How about that? Can you guys still hear me pretty good if I put it over here? Is this sound okay? Maybe this will be a little bit better if I do that. Just so it's not like directly in my face. All right, let's go with so I'm passing on the Bundesliga this week. I don't follow the MLS. I don't think you want my thoughts on the MLS because they're very negative. I'm passing on the Bundesliga this week. There is a couple spots that I had some value on, but just bad spots for teams. I have a principle in my mind is I just don't take totals that are set at 4, which is what Leverkusen and Bochum is right now. Even though I am projecting a little bit of value on it, Bochum coming off giving up 7 goals to Frankfurt plus a half. Frankfurt's playing Stuttgart though. I still think Stuttgart is fine. I think Frankfurt's got to play on Thursday. So an extra day of rest, Stuttgart being at home. I know Stuttgart's been kind of struggling, but I projected Stuttgart at -111. So like conversely, that would be Frankfurt plus a half at +110. So yes, so that's a great point. Whoever just said that. I do bet anytime goal scorers sometimes. -125 is a little high, for being honest. I mean, I hard bet anybody. But what's Florian? Let's see. What's Florian Wirtz to score against? Let me pull up Leverkusen really quick because what I've watched from Leverkusen this season, Florian Wirtz is getting all of their chances. I could be dead wrong, but from what I've watched this season, he's just racking up. 5 shots against Holstein Kiel, 2 shots against Frankfurt, 3 shots against Werder Bremen, 4 shots against Stuttgart. What is his? Hang on, let me pull up Leverkusen really quick. Yeah, let's just make. I'll go through some of my spots. We'll just make this interactive, okay? So yeah, good point from Brendan King. Especially on Bet365, 2 things. If you do not bet draw no bets or totals from the main page, go to the Asian lines. You can always find better draw no bet, and you can always don't bet double chance either. You can find much better odds on plus a half, which is the same thing as double chance at the Asian lines, and totals as well. Oftentimes I'll see, if I see a total, let's just say like on the main page, it's to over 2.5 at -110. You can go to the Asian line page and you can find it at -105. And I'm trying to remember if I had a situation like that already. I think I have the situation. Okay. So if you go to, and I'll just make an example of this. If you go to Fulham and Crystal Palace right now on Bet365, it will show on the main page over 2.5 at -110. If you go to the Asian lines right now, over 2.5 is -105. Okay. So always, always, always bet from the Asian lines. Do not bet from the main page because you can always find better value. Oh, March, you better wait for the La Liga segment because I've got some negative thoughts on Villarreal. Florian Wirtz, 4 goals off of 3.1 expected, 0.38 XG per 90. Boniface, 0.9. Yeah, it's the thing when you're betting anytime goal scorers is 2 things. So number 1, always got to look at shot production. Boniface, jeez, he's getting 5.4 shots per 90. Holy crap. And then Verts is getting 3.3. So yeah, Boniface minus 125. It's not bad. Listen, the fixture's been piling up for Leverkusen. Just make sure he's starting. You can obviously check the box on there that says void if he starts. So Boniface minus 125. That's not bad, Christian. But yeah, so for Bundesliga, a couple matches that I had value on was Union Berlin, Freiburg, which is Friday on the over. I got no interest in taking an Union Berlin over right now. Let me just confirm what it is. But I've said this before. I think they're in the wrong league because their matches right now, from a non-penalty standpoint, because there have been a couple penalties involved. Looks like we got 1.83 non-penalty expected goals per 90. That's crazy. We'll talk about Getafe in a little bit. That's like the same metrics as Getafe in La Liga. But yeah, Freiburg's actually been very, very good this season. I can't remember their manager's name, who's been there for like 25 years. I know it's going to kill me of what his actual name is. But in any case, Freiburg does have about a +0.5 non-penalty expected goal differential right now. They've actually been very, very good. But again, I'm not taking it over. Frankfurt looks to be in a good spot to dump truck today. I actually was considering betting Slavia Prague, but I decided against it. I think that Frankfurt has been pretty good. They actually have a very talented team. They've actually put together a very good team. I just think the market's maybe a little high on them right now. That's kind of where I'm sitting at. Porto. Who's Porto playing? I know who they're playing. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I remember that I looked at it last night and I passed because it was right in line with my projections. They're playing Lazio. Oh yeah, I was looking to play an under, but priced me out of that. So Porto, no, pass. Okay, so passing on Bundesliga. The other one was Bayern -2 +110 on the road against St. Pauli. A little bit of value on that, but I don't think St. Pauli is like a bottom level team like Holstein Kiel or Bochum, for example. Like their expected metrics are half decent. Stade de Brestfall. Yeah, they're wait until a Ligue 1 segment because I'm gonna fade them, try to fade them again, and probably fail. So yeah, passing on Bundesliga. The other one, yeah, Leverkusen, Bochum. There is value on it over 4 at +110 if you want to do it. I just had my own principles. I don't like playing totals that are set at 4, for example. And also like Bochum, I know they're terrible defensively. I know you can rattle off all how bad their defensive metrics are, but they are a team that likes to play somewhat of a low defensive structure, which is basically what everybody's doing against Leverkusen these days because you have to go one or the other. Like you can't get caught in between. You either have to full on man-to-man go and press them, or you have to just sit back and just kind of hope for the best. So yeah, gonna pass on anything Bundesliga related. That coffee was so cold and disgusting. All right. Serie A, let's go Serie A next. Really only one pick for me. And it's going to be Friday one, so let's have some fun on a Friday. Lecce and Empoli, over 2 -112. This is low. I know Lecce has only scored 4 goals this season, but they are a terrible defensive team. They were one of the worst defensive teams in Serie A last season. This season, they're allowing 1.58 expected goals per 90 minutes. They have conceded over 1 expected goal in all but 3 of their Serie A matches this season. They are coming off listen, if you're allowing 1.5 expected goals to Bologna, who can't create anything, and even they beat Verona in the midweek, held them to 0.3 expected goals, but I think Verona had 2 red cards in that match, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look that up. Yep, they had 2 red cards, and actually the red card from the 40th minute on. So ended up almost creating 2 expected goals. But yeah, I think you will see some positive regression with them offensively. They've scored 4 goals graded almost 11 expected. So you're going to see some positive regression from Lecce going forward here. As far as Empoli is concerned, let me just confirm what their metrics are. Kind of low event, if we're being honest, from an overall standpoint, but defensively they are due for some negative regression. Allowed 9 goals off of about 14 expected. They have been playing some lower event type matches. I mean, they've only created over 1 expected goal in one of their matches this season, but 2 is low. Like 2 is incredibly low for a match involving Lecce, who's been one of the worst defensive teams. So for Serie A, the only pick that I have right now, let me confirm the odds. Now, here's another thing that I'll say as we're going through this, just kind of like a betting like tip as you're like trying to find the best odds in certain things. BetRivers and Bet365 are really going to only be the ones that are going to give you fair, what I call true Asian odds, which is flat 2, flat 3, a +1, -1, -2, +2. Those flat numbers as opposed to a 2.5 or 3.5, 1.5, any of those type of things. Those are going to be your books, that the 2 books that are going to offer you those fair odds. So, for example, right now, over 2 is sitting at -110 at Bet365. I think that's a really fair price. Projected to, let me confirm my projection here, 2.54. So that gives me, let me just confirm here, that gives me about a 5.5% edge. So I like that. All right, question. So here's the question. Some handicappers mention teams having an eye on the next game. Do you factor that into your thinking? For example, Arsenal versus Inter yesterday, knowing they have Chelsea next. No. I know that's very big in college football. Look ahead spots because to play against bad teams. The general thinking is, and like, I don't think Arsenal's looking ahead because Inter's an incredibly important match for them. Right? Like Inter is a really, really good team. I think you could maybe say if it was a look ahead, if they were playing like Shakhtar or like Club Brugge or like one of these lower level teams. But in general, that doesn't really affect my thinking. The only way it would affect my thinking is if I think they're going to rotate guys going into or to the next match. So no, I don't think that really factors into like look aheads. I think that if we're kind of being honest, that's kind of a lazy way of handicapping. That and trends. Don't get me started on trends. I think actually breaking down matches as they are currently standing. Like now you can obviously take into effect like how many matches a team has played coming up to that point and how exhausted they are, right? Like Arsenal's been playing a ton of matches just like everybody else. But no, Inter's an incredibly important match and Arsenal was on a losing run. Like they needed to get a win. So no, I don't think Arsenal was looking ahead to a London derby this weekend. If anything, I thought they were going to focus more on Inter than they would against Chelsea. And in the Premier League, listen, soccer's different than anything else. There's no playoffs. Every match is incredibly important in the title race. So no, there's really no like look ahead spots when you're doing this type of stuff, unless you're in a situation where the match maybe doesn't really matter because you're either out of the title race or you've already confirmed it or whatever. We'll get to that when we get later in the season. So, yeah, only pick out for me. Actually, I had one more pick. Excuse me. Let me just make sure I got it's the threshold. I mean, it's close. Inter's -115 against Napoli. I kind of like Inter -115 home against Napoli. Now, let's talk about Napoli, for example, for a second, because Conte is doing some different things at Napoli than he maybe traditionally has done at all of his other stops. He's favoring more of a central midfield overload. Like if you remember him at Tottenham, it was always just like wing backs. Let's get the ball out wide, throw the wing backs forward, and let's just try to create chances via crosses, right? Like it was just very much like old school counterattacking football. Now he's favoring more possession, favoring a 5 to 6 man overload in the middle of the pitch, utilizing Scott McTominay as in his actual like role that he was born to play as a box crashing, like attacking midfielder. And he's been doing a really good job of getting those central overloads. Now, if you pull up Napoli's schedule and you see, obviously, they've had this meteoric rise in Serie A, it's generally because they've been housing bad teams. They got a 2-0 win against Milan in a match that Milan was dealing with a lot of injuries. And honestly, Milan just isn't that good. But this has been Napoli's schedule so far. Verona, Bologna, Parma, Cagliari, Juventus, Monza, Como, Empoli, Lecce, Milan, and then they just got housed by Atalanta. So now you're going on the road to Inter, who is still an incredible team. I know Arsenal completely dominated them in the second half, and I know everybody is like revering them for that, for how revering Arsenal for how good they were, but Inter was just sitting back. And honestly, Arsenal's most of their chances just came off set pieces, which is pretty typical of them. But yeah, Inter hasn't allowed a goal in 3 matches. Like they played the 4-4 crazy one against Juventus, but like other than that, outside of that, so if you take away that a Juventus match, Inter hasn't allowed a goal in 5 straight matches. So Inter is still really good. Typical Conte teams and this Napoli's no different, is they're just going to sit back. Like they're just going to sit back in a compact defensive structure. But we know that Inter is one of the most versatile tactical teams in the world. They like to get wide overloads. They like to try to send in a lot of stuff via crosses, and that can work here against Napoli. So projected Inter at -130, -115 gets you about a little over 3% edge. So 2 picks in Serie A will be Lecce and Empoli over 2 at -110 on Friday. And then the big match, Inter -115 on the money line against Napoli. All right, let's move on to La Liga. Alaves +1, -120 against Villarreal. I love Alaves. They're a team that last season drastically underperformed expectations. They were a team, they're like one of the very few teams, the thing that kind of happens with La Liga is you have 3 elite teams, and things are obviously very top heavy in Spain. And I just want to give you this for an example. So last season, there were only 7 teams in La Liga that had a positive expected goal differential. Alaves was one of them. -10 actual goal differential, +1.5 expected goal differential. They drastically underperformed offensively. And this season, they've been halfway decent. They've struggled against better teams. I will definitely concede that. But if you look at some, and they went through a pretty bad run here in the month in late September, early October. But they got it. Their last time they were out, they got a very comprehensive 1-0 win against Mallorca, which is a really, really good defensive team. They've been playing generally very, very good, even against that better type of competition. Against Real Madrid, they played them very even on expected goals. They got blown out by Barcelona at home. Everybody's getting blown out by Barcelona right now. I know they had a bad performance against Valladolid, who I think they had 2 penalties in that match. But in any case, this is a very solid team. And I know Villarreal has had some positive steps under Marcelino. They have been very good. I mean, they're 4th in La Liga right now, obviously. And they've, like you mentioned earlier, they've been off for a while because of the floods in Spain. But they continually get exploited in transition over and over and over again. And that's how Alaves creates most of their chances. Alaves is not a team that's just going to build out of the back and try to play a lot of short passes. They like to play very direct, and they're pretty good at doing it. So Alaves +1, I think this is incredibly high. So even if you're just looking at straight expected goal differential so far this season in La Liga, hang on, let me just pull it up so I can get the actual stats. Villarreal is at +0.29. Alaves is at -0.3. Even if we want to carry over some of the prior year data, which Alaves showed Alaves was actually a better team from an underlying standpoint than Villarreal, I think Villarreal at -1 is incredibly high. So if they win by 2 goals, I'll tip my cap and I'll say good job. But in any case, I think this is incredibly high. I like Alaves +1. All right, question. Thoughts on Roma? Think they're due for positive regression. Well, are they going to fire their man? Are they going to fire a second manager? I mean, what is going on at Roma? Why did they fire Totti to begin with this season? I get that they had I get they had somewhat of a bad run to begin the season, but like now they're thinking about firing Juric. Like Juric was a very good manager at Torino, and I thought the replacement was a very, very good one. I mean, he consistently had great underlying metrics and great tactics at Torino, and now just because they just have had a couple bad matches. I mean, losing 5-1 to Fiorentina is not great, and losing to Verona on the road isn't great. Let's just be honest. You have to give managers time. And I understand this is world football, and it's just not. It's just, let's just, if we're being honest, like managers are just not given time. Roma's about an even expected goal differential team. It's kind of around where their actual metrics are right now. So if they positive regression, I don't know if that's what I want to call it. They're not going to finish 12th. I can pretty say that with pretty good confidence. Yeah, just watch them today against Saint Gilloise. They got Bologna coming up at home on the weekend, which I think that line's about right and right where it should be. Then they got back-to-back road matches against Napoli and Tottenham. So Juric might be gone. I also saw that. I mean, oh my goodness, I don't know how his name gets floating into things, but I saw that Frank Lampard's name was floated, maybe for the next Roma match. Oh my gosh, he was floated for the England job, and thank God England made a great decision hiring Tuchel. But if you're somebody out there, don't hire Frank Lampard. He's not a good manager. He's proven it over and over again. But yeah, Roma positive regression. I don't know. I'd like to watch them today against Gilloise if I had the chance. Napoli, Tottenham, Atalanta, 3 straight matches. That's brutal. So Juric might not make it. Who knows? But positive regression, maybe not. So the other one in La Liga that I liked, and this is just the world that I'm living in right now, and it's just kind of like a hellscape, is Getafe Girona over 2. You can get about around even money. So for those who don't know, Getafe is like a team built out of the 90s. 4-4-2, low block, transitional football. Matches are incredibly low offense. Like, they know who they are. Like, what I do appreciate about Getafe is, like, they know that they are a mid to low level La Liga team, and they play like it. So far this season, though, they've had 18 goals in their matches and about 24 expected. So they have been a little bit more high event than maybe they have been in years past. Overall, averaging about 2 expected goals per 90 minutes. That's actually a little bit higher than what they have been previously. Girona, they have a lot of injuries right now. But what I think the important thing is let me just pull up those injuries really quick so I can confirm them. What's good about it is I know they've a lot of their attackers, like for example, Abel Ruiz is injured, their striker, but Victor Sangadov is coming back. He's back in training this week. He's their best attacking player by far. So having him back is very, very positive and will help them. Brian Heel and Dan Juma, you can create something in terms of an attacking presence there. For them, Romeo is injured for Girona, so that's their best defensive midfielder, best guy at stopping teams in transition, which is what Getafe is. And Girona has been, they've been bad defensively this season. I know in La Liga they're only allowing 1.1 expected goals per 90, but I mean, almost 2 expected goals to Feyenoord, 2 expected goals to PSG, 2 expected goals to PSV in the Champions League. And now we're going back-to-back away matches. I mean, their last match against Leganes was 7 goals. Like, I think we have a chance at getting it over here. And I think the market's just incredibly low on Getafe in general in terms of totals. And they always have been. This is nothing new. Betis' home form has been unbelievable. I actually am projecting a little bit of value on Real Betis. I'll just finish up my thought, though, first is, over 2, even money, projected a little over 2.5 goals for Getafe and Girona. I'd be on the lookout. You know what I would do if I were somebody listening to this right now? I would be on the lookout for potentially, I don't know if it's gotten there yet, but maybe an over 1.5 at like minus 150-ish if you can find it. Again, I don't know if you're actually going to get to that point, but I think that would be the way to maybe potentially play that match. But yeah, over and that. So those are my 2. Alaves +1, over 2 in Getafe and Girona. Betis, home form has been great. That is very true. I tried to fade Celta Vigo. Didn't work. I think they're way better this season. And I think that the market is maybe a little too high on them. But again, Betis has got to play here on Thursday in the Conference League. Again, yeah, like you said, great home form, great performance against Atletico Madrid, beat Osasuna 2-1, Espanyol. Like they've been rattling off a lot of great performances. But having to play on Thursday and then playing, I just don't want to fade Celta Vigo right now. I'm just not in the mood to do it. So if you want to play Betis, there's a little bit of value on them. I'm a coward, so they'll probably win 1-0. So yeah, that's La Liga. All right, let's finish up with Ligue 1 here. Sorry, I missed a question from earlier. Do you think Strasbourg is underpriced against Monaco? I don't. I think Monaco is underpriced because Monaco is really, really good. I projected Monaco at minus 123 in this match. And here, I want to pull this up. Can I get the Big Five leagues? There we go. All right. So, expected goals allowed in the Big Five leagues in Europe. Number one, in terms of this is the lowest expected goals allowed combined between the Big Five leagues. Bayern Munich is number one defensively. Monaco is number two. They have conceded 7.7 expected goals in only 10 matches. They are an incredible defensive team. And the reason Monaco is so good is that they are really good at denying space through the middle. They have great center backs that basically don't allow you to play through there. And their pressing has been incredibly good. So now they're taking on Strasbourg, who has been, pull them up really quick, who's been very average, conceding a ton of goals under Rosner. 1.73 expected goals allowed per 90 minutes. They've been scoring quite a bit, but just go look at some of the defensive performances when they actually have to play good teams. 2.9 expected goals allowed against Lyon, 2.6 against Lille, 3.5 expected goals allowed against PSG. This is a good spot. I mean, not a good spot for Monaco because they had to obviously play in the Champions League on Tuesday. But in any case, I do think they are a little bit undervalued here because of how good they've been defensively. And if we're being honest, Strasbourg has not been good against good teams. So Adi Hutter, great job so far at Monaco. I like them plus 105. Rennes, bounce back game this weekend. Rennes is playing. I knew they were playing. They're playing Toulouse. Oh, funny that you mentioned that. So let's go a little bit down. Let's go one slot down on that list of expected goals allowed during. Big Five leagues, expected goals allowed overall. Toulouse is actually third. They've actually been really good defensively. So I would probably avoid that situation if I were trying to get Rennes in a bounce back spot. I just don't think Rennes been that good. The other spot that I liked in Ligue 1, Nice. Draw no bet, minus 125 against Lille. Nice has been very good under Frank Haas. Very, very good. And what's been most impressive, I just raved about how good Monaco has been. Nice just played them at home and completely dominated them. 1.6 to 0.5 expected goals, beat them 2-1. They just beat Stade Brestois in their last Ligue 1 match. They've put in good performances against PSG, against Marseille. Like they've been a very, very good defensive. They've been a very, very good team overall. Over a +0.5 expected goal differential per 90 minutes. Like this has been a really, really good team. And I know Lille overall, their metrics have been pretty good this season, but if you actually dig into it, they've gotten dominated in pretty much every single Champions League match. And when they've had to play good teams, like for example, Monaco, they got dominated against PSG. They got dominated on the road in a pick'em situation. I love Nice in the spot. I projected them plus 116. I think they should be closer to plus 125. I think that's probably where you will see it end up in terms of a closing. So I think you're grabbing Nice right now. I think that's great. All right. So that wraps up everything for the weekend. Hopefully you can remember all those picks. If not, I will put them in the Google Doc and I'll obviously post it on Twitter. So if you made it this far, thank you. The 20 people that have made it this far. I didn't know how this would go. I didn't know if it would be a complete train wreck. I was thinking like, well, if it's a complete train wreck, well, at least you guys got to see a car crash today. But thank you all for interacting with me. So some things to look out for in the future. If you are a future employer listening to this, I am available. I would love a full-time opportunity. I'm available for part-time opportunities as well. So here's what you can kind of look out for me in the future. A couple things I'm going to do. So I've been approached to potentially start a Substack, which is obviously a paid subscription thing. I need to look into it a little bit more. And that is kind of concerning to me because I'm kind of wrestling with my morality, I would say. I am a big believer that content should be free, like plain and simple. But I also am wrestling with the fact that I just got laid off and I have a family I got to provide for. So I'm kind of wrestling with those two things. I would love to just get a full-time opportunity somewhere and be able to keep doing stuff like this. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know if I'm going to do that. For the time being, I'm going to try to do a lot of content just on Twitter, maybe some more tactical type of stuff. And, hopefully some more data stuff that could help, maybe help people out a little bit. One thing that is for sure, and this is going to be very true, my projections and my picks will always be free. That's never going to change. I don't believe in people having to pay for data and pay for projections. Pretty simple. If I'm I'm not the one that's creating the data to begin with, right? I'm just replicating it. So I don't believe that. My Twitter handle is @BJCunningham22. That's what it is. So that's kind of what you can look out for. Don't worry. I'm going to make I have a logo and some graphics in the works. This YouTube page won't look like a terrible one going forward. Next live stream. Typically on Wonder Goal, we wouldn't do anything for World Cup qualifiers, AFCON qualifiers. I said, why not? It's my show. I can do whatever I want. So I'm going to have a little bit of a live stream for AFCON and AFCON qualifiers, which if you know me, AFCON has a really deep place in my heart. I love AFCON so much. So I'm going to do AFCON qualifiers, and we're also going to do World Cup qualifiers for Asia and South America. Might not be as long as this one. And also we got to wait for markets to open up for those, and it takes the books a little bit of while. But we're going to do a live stream for that. I'll tweet out the exact timing. Please let me know in the comments if a time like this works. If you would rather be like, hey, like I'm at work, like I can't watch the live stream. Could you please do it late at night? I would be more than happy to do it late at night after my child goes to bed. I'm perfectly okay doing that. So please let me know if you'd rather me do it in the morning like this, or if you'd rather have me do it at night. So those are the few things. Thank you all for listening. I think I covered everything. Oh, one more thing. If there are segments that you'd like to, I'll open up for questions here in a second. If there are more things that you'd like me to talk about, specific segments, whether it be tactical data, whatever. If you're like, hey man, I'd really love to hear you talk about this, or if you're more like, hey man, don't talk about that. I didn't really like that segment. Please let me know, because I want this show to be as interactive as possible, and I want it to be as enjoyable as possible for you, the listener. So please let me know if it was bad. Please let me know. If you're like, hey man, I didn't enjoy that. That sucked. That's totally fine. So yeah. Please let me know in the comments what you did. Tell a friend. Tell them to subscribe. It obviously helps me out so that if I can do more stuff on my own. We should talk about more Nick Pivetta. So yeah, before I go, what was the qualifying offer? Let's look that up. I had no idea that Nick Pivetta got a qualifying offer today. I did not expect to have to talk Nick Pivetta on this live stream, but here we are. All right, let's search what was the qualifying offer. All right. Okay, hang on. Lunchtime maybe a little better to listen to the AM before midweek games are on. Yeah, and also people can re-listen to this as well. Obviously people want to I want people to interact. We want that to happen. But okay. So Nick Pivetta got a qualifying offer. Tyler O'Neill didn't. I can't do this right now, man. Although I am happy the Yankees lost the World Series. That made me very happy. Yeah, so first lives, 20 million-ish. 20 million a year? Oh, gosh. The Henrys are typically cheap, so I don't know if I like that. Although Nick Pivetta, great stuff plus. Okay, so before I'll open it for questions here. If you have a question, if nobody has a question in the next minute, I'm going to end this stream, and we can all just go about our day. So I'll open up for any questions you have here in the final minute. Otherwise, I'll just end this live stream, and we'll see you again the next time. Any futures jumping off the page for you? Oh, yeah, that's the other thing I was going to mention. Okay. I knew I forgot to mention something. So I have taught myself how to do Monte Carlo simulations. So what I'm going to be doing, if I can, the problem I'm finding right now is like I'm trying to be a full-time parent while I'm laid off. So that's obviously taking up most of my time. But what I have like I said, I taught myself how to do Monte Carlo simulations. I'm able to do expected points for the Premier League, the other 5 leagues, Champions League as well. I am going to create, one of the things that I loved when I was at the Action Network working with Zerillo with MLB is he always made it very picture perfect and clear where he had edges on in the futures market comparatively to his projections and the best odds. I want to be able to replicate the same, for soccer. Sorry, I'm about to burp. I want to be able to do the same for soccer. So I'm going to hopefully be able to run those Monte Carlo simulations, do 10,000 simulations, and be able to show you futures odds as we go throughout the season. The problem is the markets aren't that diverse outside of the Premier League, but it's still, I could be able to give you simulations that can tell you percentage chances for like teams finish top 10, top 4, relegation, title, all that stuff. So that hopefully throughout the season, you'll know good buy points and good on certain teams to go into the futures market. Like I said, the only future out there right now that I really like is Wolves to stay up at minus 200. But yeah, I'm going to be working on that. That'll be in the Google Doc. That'll be free. Maybe I'll create a website and be able to put them on. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to start running simulations more for futures, which I think will be, I wanted to do for a really long time. And I finally able to figure it out. I've finally been able to figure it out. So yeah, interested in next manager being sacked. It's a great question. Not Arteta. Next manager being sacked. If I had to make a pick, I would say Lopetegui. That would be that would be the one. UCL Golden Boot. Doesn't Kane have like a massive lead right now? I think Southampton's getting better. And they just got their first win. I don't think Russell Martin's really in danger right now. I'd say Lopetegui's in way more danger than him. And if Everton even thinks about sacking Sean Dyche, they're complete idiots. Harry Kane and Gyökeres have 5. What are the odds on Golden Boot? I don't know. My Lautaro Martinez 40-1 is not. It's not looking pretty. Let's just say that, which is pretty typical when you try to bet Golden Boots against guys like Harry Kane and Haaland. How's Lieboff doing? I think I'll let Lieboff hasn't posted anything on Twitter. I'll let him speak before I do anything. But I have talked to him and we're all good. But yeah, I'll let him discuss everything himself. I don't want to speak for him. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, Champions League Golden Boot. Champions League futures. Do they have golden? They do have Golden Boot up right now, and I'm sure. Yeah, it's Kane's plus 225, Holland's plus 275, Vinicius Jr. 7-1, Lewandowski's 7-1, Jokeris is 8-1. Rafinha also has 5. I don't really have any thoughts on Golden Boot if we're being honest. Yeah, Lautaro and Barcola. Who does Bayern have up next? I mean, like the thing is, and I think this is pretty true, is now that we have this league format, these teams like Bayern and Barcelona, they're just going to like house all of the bad teams. And, Bayern, we've played 4, so we got 4 coming up. I mean, Bayern still has matches against Shakhtar, Feyenoord, and Slovan Bratislava. I'm not betting Kane at plus 225, and he's probably going to win the Golden Boot. So those are my thoughts on the Golden Boot. Russell Martin, yeah. So, okay. Any more questions before I go here? Otherwise, I think I've gone a little long, hour 30 minutes. I mean, I'm 30 minutes over what I would usually do on Wonder Goal, and I'm doing it all by myself. So thank you to the 17 people that have made it this far and actually listening to me. So yeah, if there are, I'll give 30 seconds for any more questions. And other than that, I think it's time to probably end this. We don't need to go more than an hour 30 minutes. Again, these probably won't be an hour and 30 minutes. But, if we're interacting and we're having conversations, I'll go as long as you guys want. I got nothing better to do. So, all right, I'll wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me talk for this long. Thank you for joining the live stream. Again, tell your friends that, and I'll put this out on Twitter. This is where you get the picks first. Okay, I will obviously post them later in the day, but if you want the picks early, you got to watch the YouTube. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Good luck with your bets. We'll see you.